Hello, I'm Billy, and this is the Unlock Your Child's Full Potential podcast, where we discuss how to give our children a head start in life and teach them some basic principles of success that will serve them well in adult life. This podcast is about the lessons that are often not taught in school, and it's up to us as parents to shine the light and coach our kiddos. Things like building their confidence, developing integrity, and a strong work ethic, shaping a worldview. It will also be about cultivating emotional intelligence skills, money mindset, personal growth habits, to name a few. I'm a mom of 3 young girls, and my mission is to raise them to be good humans, happy and fulfilled adults. Join me on my quest to learn more ways to parent with intent and raise thriving kids. I'm here to create a space where you feel supported and inspired to bring these lessons into your home and try them out. Let's dive in.
Hi guys, and welcome back to this week's conversation with Emily Geizer. Emily is a life and wellness coach for women who are exhausted and juggling too many balls. She takes a food-first approach to wellness while incorporating other aspects of healthy living. In today's conversation, we talk about how the food we feed our children directly impacts their school performance, behavior, focus, their energy levels, overall mood, and immune systems. We discuss how to empower kids to take their health into their own hands by educating them about food and getting them involved in the decision-making process. As a former Montessori teacher with a background in child development, Emily understands how a child's mind works, and she gives us the tools to get our kids on board with choosing healthy foods. Emily is so amazing. She also shares with us a free resource that outlines the 3 steps to take to turn even the pickiest kids into healthy eaters. Check the show notes for the link. And now, tune in as we get into how to raise healthy eaters.
Hi, Emily. I'm so happy to have you here on the podcast and talk about our children's well-being.
Thank you. It's an important topic. I'm glad you're doing this.
Please give us a little background. Who are you? What are you passionate about?
Who am I? I am, I'll tell you the roles I play. Who am I? Is like, I'm not sure I have time to answer that one, but I am a mom to 2 teenage girls. And I am a health coach. I'm a former Montessori teacher. I'm a wife. I'm a dog parent, a nature lover. I live in North Carolina in the US. Yeah, I think that's a good description of what I'm up to these days.
Thank you. On your website, you say that true wellness isn't measured by the number on the scale, but rather by radiance of your skin, the ease of your digestion, the resilience of your immune system, the harmony of your hormones. Could you elaborate on that?
Oh, I would love to. Yes, I think wellness has been so kind of cheapened and commodified into being just something we have to sell people, or it's only available for people that have money to access gyms and personal trainers and coaches. And wellness is so much more than that. I really do believe that, like I say, it's your skin and your hormones. Like that's how you can tell if you feel well. Do you have the energy to get through the day? Does your skin is literally a billboard for your lifestyle. It really shows like your gut balance and all of that. So when your body is functioning well, that is wellness. And that comes in all different shapes and sizes. I know very thin people who aren't all that well. And I know people that carry extra weight who are very well and healthy. So it's the size is I think how we tend to look at whether somebody is healthy or not. And it really has very little to do with health.
Yes, I agree. And it's important that we teach this to our kids early on, before they start having some body image issues, and especially with girls. I also have 3 girls, so I'm very interested in that.
Yeah. Yes, this was something that was really important to me early on. I personally have struggled with weight my whole life, and I went on my first diet when I was in 9th grade. So I wanted to kind of stop that generationally, just not keep handing down this obsession with fat and body size. And I have a background in child development, and I used to be a Montessori teacher. So when I left the classroom and had kids, I had tools. I understood how the young child's mind works. I used to lead a classroom of like 30 kids, who were under 7 years old. So I had the skills to get them on board. Kids want to know more, right? They're ready to choose healthy if they understand why. So when we educate them and involve them, it gives them a sense of autonomy. And we have so much more than flexibility in working with kids rather than you have to eat this because I said so, or everybody has to eat their vegetables, or don't eat that because you're going to get fat. None of those are like inspiring or motivating conversations, right? There's immediately going to be tension.
How do we approach the situation instead?
Yeah, so instead, and these things can be changed at any point. So, if people are listening and they already have kids and they're like, oh gosh, I'm kind of taking the wrong approach, or I can see where I would like to take a better approach, you can start this at any point. And I think that the most important step for engaging in a new way of being in a family is to bring everybody together that's going to be involved, like everybody in your household together, and talk about it in a way that's like, I've just learned something new. And I think it'd be really I think it'd be really great for our family to try it out together. And depending on your kid's age, I mean, I did this when my kids were quite young, they were toddlers, asking them for input that's kind of age appropriate. Again, it's a sense of autonomy. I think whenever
preparing the food? Or...
right now, I just mean like explaining how we're going to shift things. Because I imagine some of your listeners maybe already have a pattern of talking to their kids about foods. So when you change how that's going to be, bring them on board with a conversation. I'd like to start focusing on foods in this way. So like educating them is really important, and getting them involved is really important. So some things I think that you can start by doing, identifying foods that you want your kids to explore more and have them easily accessible. Again, this looks different at all ages. I remember these grazing trays we used to use, like when my kids were quite young, we would use ice cube trays and stick little bits of like pumpkin seeds, raisins, chopped up kiwi, like just so they can kind of try all the different flavors and there would be lots of colors there. Obviously, that's not going to work for a 15-year-old. My daughter would laugh at me if I did that now. So you're going to adjust it to be age appropriate, but raising a grazer, encouraging exploration is a great way to start comfort with food.
Okay. So it's not like eat your veggies, but it's more like, why don't you try some of what I have here prepared on the table? It has to be their choice.
Yeah, I think, well, with the grazing tray, I guess that goes back to like, kids don't just eat, young kids especially don't just eat 3 meals a day, right? And I think as parents, we sometimes want to like group it into these meals. And because of their metabolisms and their growing bodies, like they're eating all day. So just having the healthy foods available all day for them to be exploring rather than going to the pantry, grabbing a single serving of whatever convenience cracker that they love, right? I mean, that's right. The easy alternative. And at a meal, what I think is really important is to talk about why the food matters. Like, so if eating vegetables first is a really great idea, and then explain why it's a good idea. First of all, veggies are our growing foods, right? Like explaining to kids how there's food that helps you grow. There's food that like doesn't do much except for fill you up. And then there's food that actually kind of does the opposite of helping you grow. It depletes your body of nutrients, right? So if you want to be really strong and you want your brain to work really well, you've got to focus more on the growing foods. And it's okay to eat the other foods sometimes. Like, let's not villainize food, but let's teach why the other food needs to be a priority. Kids are so motivated by, like, again, age dependent, like being able to run fast, being able to grow taller, having strong muscles, doing well in school, like brain food, those are all things that excite kids. Not getting sick anymore, right? Like food is what builds our immune system. So I think when we learn how to talk to our kids to excite them and get them on the same page that we're on, the food piece is easy. Instead of seeing it as something we have to force our kids into, it's just this like place of friction. Food's such a like celebratory come together sort of tool. It's always been used in that way. And if we can keep it positive and from a place of empowerment, I just think it's such a gift to kids.
That's an excellent point. Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What about sugar? This is one of the types of food that's not a growing food, but the opposite.
Yeah.
Do you think that we have to avoid it altogether? Because kids love sugar. And
Kids
it's
love sugar.
so addictive.
Kids love sugar and adults love sugar.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I just led a 5-day sugar detox for a big group of people, and they were all adults and all like, wow, I am so hooked on this stuff. It's amazing. And we're actually wired for sweetness. So there's lots of places that we can find sweetness. And this is a great place to educate kids, right? You can start, I mean, depending on how far you want to get into this, you can go you can take it that far, but you know, there's all different sorts of flavors. Sweet is one kind of flavor. There's lots of things that give us that sweetness. Sweet root vegetables, sweet fruits, dried fruit, processed sugar foods, right? If you understand the role that sugar plays, it helps talk to kids about how it actually, like, when they're eating all these vegetables and putting all these good nutrients in their body, sugar actually has the effect of like leaching out these nutrients. So you're putting it all in, but then if you're going to eat a bunch of sugar, you're kind of negating those positive effects. So I think just having it be a sometimes food is a great thing to teach. And the thing is, if it's, this has a lot to do with like your family culture and habits too, because if it's in the house, like let's say Oreos, right? If Oreos are in the house and it's a favorite food and you find that you're snacking on them a lot, then of course your kids are going to want to too.
Yes, and I find it easier to go without sugar than with a little bit of sugar.
For sure. That was a big thing that we talked about in the detox. If you want to like cut cravings, the best thing to do is just kind of cut it cold turkey, because it is highly addictive. So we have a little bit and then we want a little bit more.
Yeah. But what is a sustainable approach to that? Because ditching sugar altogether for a long period of time, I don't think I can do it, let alone my kids.
You told me that you have young kids. And I think with young kids, I think with this whole conversation, I am very sensitive, as I mentioned, like I've had body image issues my whole life. And so I am very sensitive to recreating that. I don't want to recreate that for my girls. So I don't want them to be scared of certain foods, but I do really want them to understand it. And so I think when you say like, we're not having any sugar for a week, they start, depending on how young they are and what they can understand, it starts being confusing maybe. So I think that having sugar for truly special occasions and, you know, finishing every single meal isn't a special occasion, right?
No. We usually have sugar, like cookies for a snack in the afternoon. That's the only time I give something like that. But it still is once a day, every day.
Yeah. And the other piece I'll say is I mean, you don't live in the US, and I think we have a bigger issue maybe with sugar and processed foods here in the US, but there is a big difference to a homemade cookie that we're putting in sugars or natural sweeteners in on our own and a packaged product.
Yes.
And it's not even like packaged cookies. In our grocery stores, over 80% of the items on the grocery shelves have added sugars in them. So it's like the ketchup, the barbecue sauce, the mayonnaise, the vinegar, the pickles, the yogurt. I mean, it's things that you're not thinking of as having sugar are where a lot of the sugar is. So I don't think there's a need to demonize dessert so much as, again, depending on, it always has to be age appropriate, but, you know, saying, did you know that adults are supposed to have under 25 grams of sugar a day? So let's count, like, let's take today and add up and just check where's your sugar coming from today, and
Yeah, read the labels.
Read the labels and starting to give language and education around that. So you're not like setting hard rules, but you're um, empowering kids to take their health in their own hands. They love to learn and be
Yeah.
detectives.
Yes, my kids are asking, is that protein or is that carbohydrates? What am I
Yes,
eating now? So they
right.
knowing that.
It's so good. It's so important. I really think food is, in my health coaching practice, I take a very food first approach because food's been linked to mental health issues, right?
Mhm.
Food is linked to all chronic disease, inflammation, joint pain. So it's such a great foundation to give our kids that food actually has a lot of power. It's not just like a quick craving, fulfilling a quick craving or filling your belly. Like it's doing a lot in our bodies. It's giving our bodies the information it needs.
Your kids now are teenagers and you raise them this way. Having laid this strong foundation, do you find that they now make the healthy choice when they're on their own?
They have gone through various phases with growing up, like with that growing up, and they're both very different. So, yes, they do make healthy choices. They do crave fresh food and recognize that, like fresh, light food feels good. They do want vegetables. And they eat things I would never have in the home at this point because they have friends and cars and access to all that. And so they do eat it. And I continue to have these conversations with them. Like, I know you love this food, but let's look at what's in it and what that's doing to you. So you're saying your face is breaking out and you want medication for your skin, but you just had like diet soda and cookies 3 days in a row, and now you have a breakout. So, like, let's look at where these things are coming from.
Oh, yeah, that's a great point to see the cause and effect.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
What about sports and movement? Do you think that's a big factor in raising healthy kids?
Absolutely. I think moving every day is good for every person to do. And I think that moving in ways that are joyful for kids, not all kids are oriented towards sports, and that's totally fine, right?
Right.
But hula hooping, jumping rope, taking a walk, like, cartwheels, like figuring out just how to keep moving the body is really important. That structure that they create as kids carries them through as adults. Like kids that were really strong kids have much more structural health as adults than kids that sat on a couch like this.
Mhm.
It's harder to build that structural health when you're an adult. So for sure, movement is important.
Yes, and they spend all day at school sitting on a desk and posture is terrible. I see so many
Yes.
kids with terrible posture.
And carrying these big book bags all day and well, and this, so like you can't really see me, but like looking at their phones all slunched over with their shoulders up high. I think you know how there's the progression that they show of like humans evolving to standing
Yes.
upright. I think we're gonna be like going back down.
Yeah, yeah, those terrible phones and
Yeah,
screens and stuff. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm still avoiding them at home, but my oldest is 9, so it's easy. Have a lot to learn.
Oh man. It's hard to learn that it's moving so quickly. I have friends who parented kids just like 5 years ahead of mine. It was a very different even phase with phones just in that short amount of time than it is now. It's hard. The
Yeah.
food thing feels like a piece of cake compared to cell phones.
Yeah, yeah, true. What about exposure to nature? Is its role in raising happy kids? I think that
Mm.
emotional well-being is as important as is the physical. Because I find kids are very happy when they're outside. But these days, at least for kids that live in apartments in the city, going out has become a scheduled activity. You know, you have to go out for a walk and then come back to your home. We're in a closed box, and this affects our emotions.
100%. This, I think we're all experiencing nature deficit. I'm a huge proponent of getting out and hiking. We brought our kids hiking and camping when they were young because it's important for so many reasons. And what you're talking about is like leaving and going on a walk and coming back. And I was just thinking in these tightly scheduled family environments that we have, it's often, when we were kids, I thought about going out to the woods and you could kind of get lost all day. Or there's a story of the parents saying, like, come back when it's dark and you have all day to try to figure out how to fill your time, right?
Yeah.
So you'd go exploring in the woods if you had access to that. But now it's kind of like, quick, we've got like 20 minutes, let's go do this thing and then come back. And we're not quite giving kids time to go through that process of getting bored, becoming creative, getting curious. That's a little bit of a, I mean, that's not a tangent. That's true for nature, but it's also true in our homes. Nature does so much for all of us, like keeping our bodies. I talk about this a lot with adults because as adults, we are not synced with nature. And people find that, women find that in their cycles being irregular. Whereas if we're out under the moonlight, the cycle syncs up pretty quickly. It's fascinating, but we are part of nature. We do run in sync with nature. And when we close that piece off, it's kind of like taking an arm off. Part of us is missing. So I think when we stay connected to nature, connect our kids to nature, we can access a part of ourselves that's not available otherwise. That and things like sleep are easier to achieve because we're connecting with the actual light outside rather than running our home on whatever, you can have your lights on at 10 o'clock at night and still be quite stimulated and wonder why you can't get to sleep when you turn your light off, right?
Yeah.
And same with kids. I think there's so much benefit to being in nature. I also learned something recently from a functional physician who was talking about nature actually helping your microbiome because when you're walking around and breathing that fresh air, all that you're breathing in, we ingest, and it does get into our microbiome, which is so important. So I even think it helps with digestion and things that we wouldn't normally associate with taking a hike.
That's why I love nature summer camps, because they give the kids the opportunity to really be outside and play with dirt, walk barefoot, just be kids.
Yes. And adults need it too, being
Yeah.
barefoot outside. Yes.
I crave it.
Yes. We need more nature camps for adults, maybe too.
Would you share some family traditions you guys have that bring you closer and create a nourishing environment at home?
I think my very favorite one is our family meeting, which we do every week. And I implemented this when my oldest was like 3.5 and my youngest was a few months old because I learned about it and it seemed like a very important opportunity to give the kids to come together and express themselves and ask for what they need rather than having it like spill over into the day-to-day. So we have a family meeting once a week, and when my kids were younger and they would spend a lot of time voicing their annoyance about the other one or complaining about something weird, we're doing that they're not happy about, it's like, save that for the family meeting. That's a great opportunity to discuss these things because then we're not talking about it when everybody's activated and triggered because nothing good happens then, right? So if there's a chronic behavior that's happening that's annoying one person, you can save it and bring it to the meeting and then work on it there. Okay. It was a great opportunity for the kids to learn how to express themselves and listen to each other and problem solve in that space.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. What I try to do, because I have 3 of them, and it's so hard to just spend one-on-one time with each of them. What I try to do is have at least one day a week to spend some time with each of them separately. And I find that very nourishing for my connection with them.
I love that. So what do you do with them? Like, what does that look like?
Whatever she wants. For example, with my oldest one, we like to go out and she just shares whatever's happening at school. because she likes to share. And the trouble usually is that I don't have enough time to just listen to all the things she wants to share with me.
Yeah.
So that's what she likes to do, just go for a walk and talk about things that are important to her now. With the middle one, I usually play some kind of game. She loves puzzles, board games, and she just loves to have me by her side and even not talk that much, but just be present. So what I do is just listen to the girls and to follow their agenda.
I love that. I think that's so important. Just so that I mean, right from that, I'm thinking, oh, they must feel so like loved and valued, for you to say like, I'm giving you this time just for you. That's such a rare thing.
It's a great tool. I would really recommend it to everyone. There's a question I like to ask. If you could address moms worldwide and give them one parenting advice, what would it be?
I think the very best parenting tip I could give is I don't know that I can narrow it down to one. It might be two, but what I was going to say is to help kids at every age learn how to help themselves.
I like that.
That's really all they want, is to be able to do everything themselves. And it really takes away a lot of tension.
And how do we consciously coach that? Not helping them out when they need help, waiting for them to try to figure it out for themselves. How would it look like?
I think, again, it's going to be dependent upon the child's personality, the child's age, and what the task is. Right. But an example is I love to cook, and I really wanted my kids to be capable in the kitchen, just to be able to participate, to help, and to get what they needed. And so we had a thing, I forget what it's called, but like for my young kid to be able to crawl up and stand at counter height and have tools. We had safe kitchen tools, safe knives. So like my 3-year-old would help cut carrots and make snack at the counter with me. She loved being involved. That's helping them to do it themselves. So in that situation, I would definitely show how to safely use this knife and then give them the tool, then give them the opportunity to try to do it.
I tend to do the opposite. It's easier for me to do it myself, and I'm so overworked, and they're like, they don't want to do it, so they don't mess up.
I mean, I think your response is common. That's what I experienced with all the parents in my class. When I taught kids, this was a common experience. And that's why I share it as probably the number one thing we can do, because most of us don't. It does take longer. It's not the easiest path, but we are here to raise these human beings to be able to do for themselves. And that it's not like it naturally clicks and they want to do everything themselves when they're 16. Surely it doesn't happen like that, right? Mm-hmm. So my kids were much more eager to do things themselves when they were 3 than when they're 15. So start early.
Yeah, great advice. Thank you. Is there anything else you would like to share with us today?
The other piece that I was debating about sharing, or as like my number one tip, is to try to find things you enjoy about every stage of parenting. Parenting goes by so fast. And I remember being in some seasons of it feeling like, oh my God, is this going to be forever? And like a week later, it changes. So if you can find the goodness in all parts of it, it makes the whole journey so much more fun.
Oh, yeah. I'm already aware that it's going by so fast. So I love that advice.
Yes, I sent my first one off to college this year and it goes by real fast.
Thank you, Emily, for this amazing conversation. I learned so much. Why don't you share with everyone where they can connect with you and learn more from you and all the things you got coming up?
Okay, great. Fun. I am a health coach. I work with adults. I work with women. My website is my name, emilygeizer.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Emily Geizer. And, because we're here talking about raising healthy eaters, I have something that I created like 10 years ago with steps lined out about how to Raise Healthy Eaters. I have the document. I think it's really great, and I'd be happy to share that.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you. Love the conversation.
I hope you got something from this episode. Here are the takeaways. Number 1, wellness comes in all different shapes and sizes. True wellness isn't measured by the number on the scale, but rather by the radiance of your skin, the ease of your digestion, the harmony of your hormones, and the energy you have going through your day. Number 2, when you talk to your kids about food, it's really important to explain why the food we choose matters. Food is not just about fulfilling a quick craving, it actually has a lot of power. Number 3, kids want to know more. They're ready to choose healthy food if they know why. Bring them on board with a conversation. Educating them and getting them involved is really important. It gives them a sense of autonomy. Number 4, empower kids to take their health into their own hands. They love to learn and be detectives. Start by identifying foods that you want your kids to explore more and have them easily accessible. Encouraging exploration is a great way to start. Number 5, movement is really important. Not all kids are oriented towards sports, but we should find ways that are joyful for our children to keep their bodies moving. The body structure that they create as kids carries them through as adults. Kids that were really strong have much more structural health as adults than kids that sat on the couch. Number 6, we are all experiencing nature deficit, and it's nature that keeps our bodies in sync. Get out more, go hiking, enroll the kids in summer camps. Number 7, help kids at every age learn how to help themselves. All they want is to be able to do everything themselves. It does take longer, and it's not the easiest path, but we are here to raise these human beings to be able to take care of themselves, and that doesn't just happen by itself once they turn 16. Start early. Number 8, find things you enjoy about every stage of parenting. Parenting goes by so fast. If you can find the goodness in all parts of it, it makes the whole journey so much more fun.
Thank you so much for listening and letting me be a part of your day. If you enjoyed this episode or the show in general, please share it with a friend and help me reach more moms around the world. I would also appreciate it if you consider leaving me a review. Reviews are literally the lifeblood of a podcaster and help me so much. Don't forget to subscribe so you get notified when a new episode drops. See you next week.